Here's a preview of this week's episode. It's a Matt James situation. I'm sorry, Matt. Also, Matt, you work at CBRE, that real estate firm. I don't know people who work there. How you get that G-Wagon? What job you got? Because people I know, they don't got no G-Wagon to work there. And I just want to know what type of real estate
I don't think that's...
You don't think...
That wasn't his
That's
car.
not his car.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Kinda Adulting podcast, where we talk about all things affecting kinda adults. I'm Simone.
I'm Elise.
And I'm Jordan.
How are you guys doing?
Be
honest.
I'm tired, but I do want to talk about like my little antidote today I was highlighted as one of the top performers in like my business consulting group, which is like 800 people.
Oh, look at you.
And so I was highlighted, and like usually, and then I know, but then right after there was a typo in my interview, right? And like I wrote my interview, and I wrote it really late at night on Monday, and Monday was a really hard day for me for work. I actually cried that day to my mentor about how I felt like I wasn't good enough, and made a couple typos in my interview, and I read it back today, and like I couldn't even be like happy about me as being highlighted, because I was like, oh, like I messed up, I have typos. Like I'm the only Black person. Like there's 4 people that got highlighted. Like of course, like I'm the one who had typos. Like da 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 da. Like, and also like just not, I didn't tell anybody, because kind of like, okay, you're supposed to be humble. And I was listening to Slay Girl Slay podcast, and Ashley Legs does that. It's a really good podcast for motivational. And she had an episode on white man confidence and how white men are not scared to show their accomplishments, or not scared to like boast their accomplishments. And I really kind of had to channel that, even with my family. I told my parents, I wasn't going to tell my parents, right? And like, be like, yes, like own the fact that like you are doing well in that moment. And that's hard for me, because I feel like it's never good enough, right? Like I'm never like, it's good enough. So I didn't even say anything. But yeah, white man confidence. So yes, I should bask in my little hour before I go to bed tonight that I am a top performer in my consulting group. And even though on Monday I literally cried to my mentor because I messed up something at work, and this girl called me out on it, and I just felt really dumb, and I felt like it was a small error, and it's a lot of drama that happened after. But I was telling her like, I don't think I should really be a consultant. Like I think that honestly, I truly do think sometimes that I got this job because I'm just a little witty and smart, and I made people laugh at my interview when they started asking me technical questions that I didn't know the answer to. But she told me that was the devil. I have a Black female mentor. So working on, my ramble of knowing that I am good enough for what I do.
Yeah, you should be proud of that. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
No, don't be.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Like
Honestly,
I'm trying. It's uncomfortable, because I really can't believe it myself that like, what you mean I'm a top performer?
but like at the same time, when you get awards, like that should be, not to say you should go strictly off of receiving awards, but that should be your confirmation. Like, yeah, somebody might critique something, but you don't just get an award to get an award. So that should be telling you that you are supposed to be where you are. I mean, what else are they for? I mean, it's supposed to highlight what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I would just take that at face value and like, let that propel you if needed, in any moments. You can remind yourself of that,
Yeah, working on it. Because I'm just like,
seems like, no, I'm not going to do that.
I'm always like, is it a scam? Have I scammed these people? Like, I'm scamming them. Like, they really don't. I really can't. My Excel skills are not the greatest. Like, how am I here?
No, you shouldn't even joke like that, though, Elise. Like, because that's how it starts.
Yeah, and it's deep-seated. And I think even talking to my therapist, she was like, nothing's ever good enough, at least for you. Like, everything is always like a qualifier. And I do that, and I do that a lot. And I psych myself out a lot. And I think sometimes I try to share it with people in my life, like, hey, I don't feel like this or that. I feel like a lot of times people who I've known for a while, right? They're like, but they see me in this one light from like high school or like middle school. They're like, but like, you're great. Like, you're confident. And I'm like, yeah, but you weren't there for the other 4 years that I went through, like imposter syndrome myself and like not feeling good enough. And so even in the workplace, like being the only Black person on my team now, sometimes it makes you like question, like, especially when people are like have like microaggressions, you're like, yo, like what am I doing? Like questioning your skills, because I wasn't a business major. Like I didn't come into, like I didn't study business, right? And so like I feel like sometimes like well, it's just funny.
Yeah, but I think as Black people in white spaces, a lot of us do struggle with that. I think it's not until you get to a certain point, and even at that point, sometimes you still struggle with it. But you have to recognize the fact that we're in places and we're kind of like just unique pieces in these places. Like literally, we're in all white spaces. So naturally, I think you're going to feel these things, like especially in these big corporations. Where you're working with 500 people and they're all white, like you're going to feel a certain way, but it's also because like you think differently. You articulate yourself differently. You analyze, like everything's different. And so, I think it's natural to feel that way. And so there's no reason to like, think that you're less than because you suffer with that, imposter syndrome at times, because I think we all do, but it's more about like what your mentor was saying, like, how are we going to handle it going forward? Like, how are we going to improve upon the imposter syndrome? I don't know if it ever goes away, but maybe like how you deal with the imposter syndrome. And this is a way like, oh, I got an award. So clearly I'm not doing bad. Like people are impressed by me. Like that should be your
confirmation.
Reminder at times. Like mine is like, okay, my reviews. Like, okay, I got a good review, which I was surprised about. I have to tell myself that, like, somebody thought you were doing a good job when you have those moments.
Yeah, whenever I get called like a top performer, high performer, like it's weird to me. Like I don't accept it willingly. I'm always like, okay, like sure. Like I have the people who really like me. Like I always make qualifiers for like, oh, they thought I was just funny, or my personality. Because I know my personality is very people pleasing, right? But yeah, working on being like, Elise, you are deserving of the things, and ongoing thing I'm working on. So it was big for me to share on the podcast, even be like, yeah, like I got recognized.
Well, we will talk about imposter syndrome eventually, because I think we could probably all relate. And I know I break into hives at times because of it, because it's like this downward spiral that you fall into. So I think we will definitely talk about it. But just know, like, it's definitely relatable. We're all, especially at this age, when we don't know as much of the people we're working with, etc. Yep. So,
well, I don't know if y'all have like seen the stuff about Meg. Well, Jordan actually showed me on my birthday. Meg's boyfriend, Partisan, Fontaine, whatever, Fondant. He was yelling.
Okay.
So he was like, Meg was in the bathroom with her girls, doing what girls do, haha, kikiing. And he was like arguing with her, there was some tension, and he was like, if you open this door right now, I'm gonna knock it down. First, do you pay rent here? And if you do, why are you trying to knock down what you pay for or what I pay for? Don't do that.
I think it was like a hotel.
Second,
yeah,
you get sued.
That's even worse.
Second, I didn't like how all the girls on Twitter were like, "Oh, that's so attractive. Oh, I like when man put me in check." And I was actually talking to Jordan about this, and like me now, I'm not gonna lie. I used to kind of, I like that. Like I used to like when like guys like put you in check and whatever, because I'm a little bold and I will buck on a man, and if you don't buck back, I'm like, oh, you weak, right? And I move on, because I'm like, if you can't check me, then please move on, because I'm gonna check you left and right. And I used to like that type of stuff, right? But I learned that that's not what I want anymore in like romantic relationships. Like I want it to be soft. I don't want it to be hard. I don't want you to put me in check. I'm not your daughter. Don't yell at me. Don't make your voice at me. Don't say I'm gonna knock on this door, because one, sir, splinters. Okay, you can get splinters in your hand. Two, do you have health insurance? Do you have health insurance for for the whatever your damage? And three, it's not cute. It's not cute.
Yeah, and it's not.
I see a lot of these little 20-year-old boys trying to be people's fathers to girls. I've had men being like, "Oh, do this, so I think you should do that." Listen, I ain't asked you for advice. I go to therapy for a reason. I pay someone for a reason. Don't try to tell me what I need to go to sleep and what I need to eat. I got me. Worry about you
and I got my daddy. My daddy live in Georgia.
And getting the scuffs out your Jordans. Bye. Next.
Okay, so first, I think there's a difference between someone putting you in check in the sense of like you're getting out of line with people and they're like pull you to the side, like, look, you need to calm down a little bit or something like that. And then there's a difference between if you don't be quiet right now, I'm gonna jack you up. Like, there's no reason you should be busting my door down. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? So, like, that is aggression. That is borderline abusive and probably has signs of a future abusive episode because that's not normal. Never in my right mind have I ever said to someone, I'm going to bust the door down. So, the problem is, like, these people think that that is attractive, but they don't recognize those type of things as signs of
abuse.
Abusive behavior. Like that's not normal. Have y'all ever threatened to bust somebody's door down?
Maybe.
No.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Never mind. I have.
Well, at least you was lying if you did, because your little butt couldn't knock nobody's door down.
But you know my mouth, Simone. Even though we know Elisa's not gonna do it, am I gonna threaten it? Yeah. Not to a man, because
but see, I have a mouth too, but I mean, there's a difference. I have a mouth too.
He already got accused of being abusive with Cash Doll. So people are just like,
oh, he dated Cash?
Even worse.
Yeah. But no, like their relationship ended badly. Like she said that he was like abusive and everything. So I'm just like, girl, Megan, why are you doing this? But also to put this in context,
and you just got out of that other thing.
I'm not excusing it at all, but just so everybody knows the whole thing. So Megan was on her live and was just like, oh, y'all go tell Party to stop being mad at me. Y'all go blow up his Instagram and comment on his stuff and say like, stop being mad at me. And basically she was like, yeah, he pussy. I'm just like, whoa. And she was just like, yeah, don't say that, JK. And then like, then the next like live was like one of his friends live, and he was outside the door like banging on the door like, Megan, let me in. And then all her friends like, on drunk stuff probably. But he busts in the door, and then like the friends are just like, she's using the bathroom. Like that was the two clips that were next to each other. So that was like the story that the internet saw. But no, that's definitely some stuff. Like me and Alicia talking about it, I was just like she said, I want like softer love, and I do too. Like, don't be yelling at me. I'm not trying to argue back and forth with you. Like, that's not cute to me to try to roll up on me and my friends and try to be like,
and I like
why
that
you do
originally.
that. No, that's not me at all.
I like that, and then until it was just kind of like, first, I'm not gonna lie, my words can hurt more than your words. Women try to get at me, and I'm like, please don't push me, because I promise you, I can hurt your feelings more than you hurt my feelings. And I didn't want to be that person anymore, but they kind of push me a lot. And I realized it's kind of like, yeah, I have the capability to probably hit you hard, like you're trying to hit me hard, but that's not who I want to be. And I think men are told, like, you got to push your girl in check, you got to treat your girl type of way. And it's like, I don't want that anymore. Like, I want it to be soft. I want us to be like soft to each other. I don't want to be you getting angry. Like, that's not cute to me.
Well, I think to finish this up, I think first, as women, like if we're going to, not to justify in any way, because that behavior was like not acceptable, but like we're saying we want to be treated a certain way, we also have to treat men a certain way as well, in the sense of, I think a lot of women think they can say whatever they want, like calling your man a pussy. And that is very disrespectful. That's out of line. And like, not to say that he has the right to react any type of way, but at the same time, like, that's disrespectful. So like, you can't expect respect if you're not going to give respect.
At least stop laughing.
Because
what's funny?
I'm laughing because this literally happened with this boy I was dating. What did I say to him? I had something really mean. I forgot what it was, right? And I said it mean, and he texted me back like 2 days later. That really hurt my feelings, Elise. Like, you need to learn how to like don't cut so deep in your words. And I think this one was talking about how I need to be nice, about being nicer to men. I was like, man, I'm better now.
But see, like, I check my friends for that because I feel like you can't tell someone not to call you, or you can't feel disrespected for someone calling you a B and you calling them a pussy.
I
Like,
call him that.
both of those are very disrespectful things. No, I'm not saying you. I'm
about
saying
his worth ethic and maybe paycheck. That's not what I said, which is not nice as well.
Elise.
Okay.
I said about no. I think it was about his haircut. About his haircut. It was uneven.
Okay. But we can't get out of line and disrespectful with people and then expect them to just like fall in suit. Like that just doesn't work. And then the second thing I was going to say is just, I don't want to date anyone who could potentially get me out of to get me that worked up, because I am super chill. But I do have a breaking point, and my breaking point is just not good because my breaking point is a buildup. I'm not the person who just is going to call everything. I snap. When I snap, I'm not coming down. And I tell people this all the time because it's like, if you want to get me there, you can, but like, just be prepared. I don't want to get to that point. Like, I don't want someone who's constantly pushing me there. And that already sounds a little bit troublesome. So just saying that, you know, those are my thoughts.
So on this segment, we are going to give you guys a not so peer reviewed adulting fact from Beyonce's internet. Again, don't come for us if the fact is wrong, but we're going to say it anyways. According to Wells Fargo's 2020 annual retirement study, 17% of Gen Zers changed their living situation since the onset of the pandemic. Who is Gen Z again?
Gen Z is 97.
Oh, then that's definitely me.
It's not,
So some of y'all,
we're right in between Gen Z and millennial. But I didn't change. Not
you, Jordan. But
I guess
Elisa
I will. No, I'm 97, Simone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you are after
Jordan, or a month. I'm after her.
See, I'm 90.
She always
the
don't
calendar.
remember birthdays.
The calendar is January, February.
First of all,
but January, February.
I forget because. Okay, relax. Okay, we got it. Okay, we got it.
Back to what I was saying. I think you're backing from the mic. Our listeners appreciate that. I was about to say no, I didn't. I haven't changed my living situation, but I guess that's not true because I lived for 2.5 months in Georgia, right? Simone's still in Georgia. Like, I guess I still have my apartment and my lease here. Like, I didn't change my apartment, but like in DC. But I did change my living situation because if that was regular times, non-pandemic, there's no way I could have lived in Georgia for 2.5 months. I would have to be in person at work. So I guess I did change my living situation because that's living. 2 months is living.
I have, and I think that I'm, continuously thinking about it because it's like, I don't think that I would have given up my year lease, but, I don't think I would have officially moved in with my parents like a lot of people I know, but I would consider like moving to another city. Like, what's the point in paying New York rent if I don't have to live in New York right now? You know, that's something I'm definitely considering. And then being here for 3 months, I'm like, dang, like, because I have a few friends who like we're talking about maybe moving to, my New York friends, like we're thinking about moving to California for like a week or two, because it's like, why didn't I think of this pandemic that way? Like I could have easily moved to somewhere tropical for like, a year and like probably had a way different experience. Yeah. And so part of me is like, maybe I'm missing out on that. I don't know.
We know people who do that though. Remember Simone, like I think through our book club who were like traveling, who like literally are working from home from different cities the whole entire time. And I remember you even brought it up about us going to Arizona and working. And I was like, girl, it was like early. I was like, coronavirus. But I thought about that too as well. It's like, I really could have had no lease, right? And just been like, living everywhere if I wanted to. But I think, I gave myself some grace. It's kind of like, we never knew when it was going to end. We never knew when it would, like, we still don't really know, right? And that's the uncertainty is like,
which is why I'm going to take that approach now.
Right? You could have ended your lease, right? But you would have never known. And now I know from my company, we're not going back to July. So like, I guess I could do that. I probably won't. But like, cause I like my things how I like them. But it is cool, like thinking about it more. Like I can work anywhere in continental U.S. So like, if we did go to California, if we did go to like Arizona, it would be possible.
I moved
or the beach somewhere.
I moved during the pandemic. It was not fun because it was the middle of like June. No, yeah, June, July. It was sometime hot and it was just crazy. And then I'm thinking about moving again. Like, I'm applying for jobs everywhere. I really don't have any specific city in
Jordan,
mind.
don't leave me.
You know, I'm just
Don't
because I'm just
leave
like,
me.
I'm young. I'm still not like settled down or like, you know, I'm nothing's really holding me here. So I can make new friends. I mean, always gonna have my old friends, but like, you know, it's nothing for me to just make
We'll
new
come
friends.
visit.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Like
we'll
if I
come
visit, like
visit.
if I make a new city and stuff.
Exactly. I've been saying for a while though, like before I get married, I want to live in maybe 2 or 3 more places.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of feel like this is the perfect time to do that when you are working from home. So I don't know. I do know a lot of people who have moved home. So I guess I mean, this study is pretty correct.
Yeah, I save a lot of money moving home, but some of that's interesting because I actually don't want to live in other cities. Like, I want to live like maybe in DC, and then my whole goal is like, okay, I'm living in DC, and then I'm gonna move to Atlanta, right? Like when I get older, like I'm gonna come back home because I like being in the South, and I like Atlanta is like the biggest city in the South, and I like being in the South. I like the food, and I like being the space, the house that I can afford. But I don't have the desire. I hear people talking a lot about moving around, and I'm like, I don't desire. And I also think that kind of points to the fact that I could have traveled as my job, and I was very anti about travel. Like I told them, like even though I may not get like staffed on a project, but I was like, I do not want to travel at all. Like I don't want to be in a different city each week. I don't want to do it because I want to come home to stability. Like I want to be able to see my friends on the like midweek. Like I don't want to be like in hotels every night. I think it's different for a lot of people who are our age. They want that, and for some reason, like I don't.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah. I know where I want to end up long term, like when I have a family. But for right now, I'm like, I want to experience different places, and this pandemic has really shown me that even more. So we'll see. I don't know. But glad to hear you guys are doing well. As I always say, I can tell this episode about to be long because, we just be talking all the time. So next we will move into our discussion where we'll try and offer our thoughts on a topic that relates to us being in our early 20s. Stay tuned. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely a bipolar watcher of the Bachelor, Bachelorette series. And, to be very specific, I've only seen Tasha and Matt.
Who's Tasha?
To be quite honest.
Is she black?
Or Tasia. I'm sorry, her name is Tasia. Yeah, she's black. Duh. You think I'm watching all them other people? So I've only watched Tasia and Mac. And I did watch a little bit of Rachel's season. But this season is with Matt, as we all know. And it's been a very interesting one because, for one, he's from New York. So I've had so many family members call me and be like, why you didn't run into him? And I'm like,
you have, though. You know mutuals.
I don't know.
You have mutuals. You showed me.
I do know mutual people, but that's the point. I don't think he would want me, which y'all will hear why. But, a lot of people have been saying like they don't think he's going to choose or would want a black woman, which is not necessarily right. It's kind of passing judgment, but like, based on his media pages and stuff, I mean, it's not too far off. And so like at the beginning of the season, he literally had an interview where he was like, he is half white. And he was like, I feel a lot of pressure from a certain community to like, not a certain community, but he was like, from the viewers
date a certain way,
to go a certain way. Yeah. And he was like, and you know what? I understand what he's saying. Like, I'm sure that there was already pressure. And then like for him to be the first black bachelor, like that's a big deal. But at the same time, like Elisa, he was biracial. Like that's his culture as well. So I have mixed feelings about it. Okay. Well, I was trying to be fair. So anyway, to get to the point, we're at the final 3 right now. Or I think 4, I don't know. And there is a girl who's left who's rumored to be the woman that he chooses. And it's kind of a big deal because like, honestly, when I first started watching the show, I was on TikTok and I was seeing all these like claims for women saying that she had like bullied them for dating black men in middle school. People were coming out and saying that she went to a plantation themed college party.
Yeah, I get
And
that
then she
one.
likes pictures like with the Confederate flag and stuff like that. Yeah. So these things were coming up. And so basically, like, it's, you know, it's pretty rumored that he chooses her. I'm pretty sure he does. And basically, well, I keep saying that tonight. But anyway, it's been this big ordeal because Rachel, a past bachelorette, has, like, you know, called her out, this girl that he chooses. And the host of the show did not really place any blame on this girl. He kind of defended her for her
Yeah.
actions. And so, you know, it's kind of put Bachelor everything in a furry. What's the word?
Fury?
In a
Fury?
fury?
A
In
chaos.
a
I don't
fury.
know.
And so the host the host of the show, like, is stepping down temporarily, and it's just this
Mhm.
big ordeal. So, like, first, I mean, I think this brings up the topic of, obviously our stories always come back to dating because we're in our 20s. It is what it is. But, like, do you guys date, or have you guys dated outside of your race before?
No.
Well, no. Well, I was gonna say, like, also, like, I think I read some Reddit threads. Like, he picks her, but then he said he also is like, he like dumps her, like, after, because all this came out later, right? This is like, you know, pre-recorded.
Yeah, he didn't
And then,
know.
like, you know, he's like, he basically condemns it all, calls out the host, blah blah blah, right? And so, I guess to answer that was his background, but to answer your first question, have I dated outside my race? No. Do I want to? I thought about it a lot when I was younger. As you know, if you watched our high school episode, I really, you know, was thinking about Scandal. Really, Kerry Washington and Fitz really did it for me. I really wanted that.
Olivia was
and also
getting on my nerves.
but also because I went to an all black school for such a long time, like, I really didn't see white boys, right? So in high school, that was like cool to me. But I will say now, I really do want black love, right? And I don't know if that's problematic or what have you, but, like, I want black love only because I don't want the emotional labor of having to explain my experience to you, or things of, like, just how I operate. Like, why is your hair in a bonnet? Why are you doing this and that? And it may be like, it's obviously harmless a lot of times, but sometimes it also is just like taxing, you know? Like, I don't want to explain how long my hair got to get braided and why it costs this much money. Like, I just want you to understand, like, yep, my wife has box braids, cool. It'll be gone in the month, you know? Like, that's how I feel now.
Yeah, but I don't see what's problematic about that, though. Like, every race does that. Like, yeah, you can choose to date outside your race, but most races, like, people pair with their own race. And I'm not against it. I would never, like, you know, say I would never date someone outside my race, but I think I'm at a point too where I prefer black love, and I think that's okay. It's not problematic at all. It's just what I'm attracted to, you know? Like, people say they have preferences, okay, that is problematic at times, but, like, black love is okay. I think it's only problematic when black people say that, to be honest.
Like, why do you say no so forcefully?
Full stop.
She's a Black Panther.
Please, where's your beret? Where is the beret?
No.
Where is your scooter? Where is your
It is a beret.
I
was gonna let it rock.
Simone, let's not start. Simone, let's not start.
No. I'm so serious because I was really thinking about it. And I was like, I've never heard it pronounced that way. But I was like, I don't know if I'm even thinking of it right.
Simone said, what'd she say? Wade in the water wrong? What'd she say?
I forgot what she said.
Something crazy.
Something crazy.
Something crazy.
To be honest, there has only been very few people outside of my race that I think are attractive. And that's just, I mean, so I never felt any pressure for real to date outside my race. And then also, the reason why I wouldn't date outside my race is because, like, I know so much of the atrocities that happen to Black people because of other races. I can't just get over it, you know? Like, even though you might not have personally did something, it's still something that you have to address, you know? And for me, like, I feel so strongly about these things because I'm just like, we as Black people have just barely gotten to a semblance of, like, equal, you know? So I'm really speaking specifically to, like, white people though, but, like, I can't, I feel so, I don't know how to, You know,
That's
and
fair.
I
think we
I
all are,
feel
actually.
so connected to like my ancestors and things. So like, we have a reason to be mad, you know, still be mad at like white people specifically. But and that's not saying that I would go around every day like if I see a white person like I hate you, da 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 da. But that don't mean that I have to like give it up to you. You know, like it's certain boundaries that I'm not gonna cross, and for me,
Not
that's
give
one.
it up.
That's one I'm not. But I don't
I
judge
think a
other
question to
people.
ask. Oh,
Oh, go ahead. I don't judge
same.
other people. I mean, like you can
Yeah, I
do what
could
you
care
want to do,
less.
you know? Um,
It's for you, and that's what I was saying. It's your personal thing. Like that's what
yeah.
I think that I want, right? Like I could care less what other people do. Whoever loves you is who you should be with. And so that's why I can't say for for a fact I would
Right.
never
Yeah.
I'll never be in that situation because I don't know. But like I was saying, I do think like when it comes to black love, like it's kind of just like talked about as like, oh, you guys are racist, da 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 da, like you guys don't want to date. But like no, like I said,
Yeah.
no other race really deals with
Right.
that. So, I think like it's normal for us to see that. Those are what our parents look like. That's what our family members look like. That's what we see and probably idolize in some relationships that we see, so it's normal.
I will say though, so like I'm back on Hinge. Ooh, everyone should clap for me. No one's clapping.
Why are we
Okay.
clapping for you?
I can't.
Because
did y'all see what I put on my Instagram
No.
story
no, I don't watch
today?
stories. But like, so I'm not back on. I've been back on Hinge. I've been on off of Hinge for like 4 months, maybe. Right? I'm back on Hinge, and I'm getting annoyed again. So I probably would, stop going off it like probably next week. People irk me, but I, you know how you can do your preferences for ethnicity,
Yeah.
right? Simone, you're talking about. I was gonna do Black African American. I did it for like maybe an hour, and then I was like, "Is that exclusionary? Like, maybe I should do open to all. Like, how? Like, should I really ask for just Black men?" And I felt like an internal guilt, and I took it off. So I think that kind of relates to that like conversation as well, right? About somehow no one told me. I felt some type of like internal guilt of saying, I just want a Black person on my Hinge profile.
I don't feel guilty at all because I think not even just when you're talking about the white people, other races do the same thing.
If a white person
like
said on their Hinge profile that said, preference. I want just white women, I think I'll be like,
but you can't. But at least you. But
I'm saying, but if someone, if I was like, how a white man told you.
They don't. What I'm saying,
if a white man,
no, they don't know that.
If a white man told you that was your friend, I only select white women, or I only think white women are attractive, you would be like, that's a little messed up. You wouldn't?
I really wouldn't.
Jordan.
I think there's a difference between like, no, I think there's a difference between like that's what you're looking for and that's what you're attracted to, and then being racist towards me. Like I could care less if that's what you want, but if you're racist, that's a completely different story. But you saying that you want another white person, or anything of that sort, like that's in your right to do so. I think it's a different line. I think we like to toy with that line because within our own race, that whole conversation is like colorism. Lighter and darker. Like I want that. That is not a preference. That's colorism. There's a difference. So as long as you're not being racist towards me, I could give a crap who you're attracted to or who you put on your Hinge profile. Because why are you wasting somebody's time if you know you're not interested?
I agree with Simone.
Okay, but what I did want to say was, small snippet about Hinge. This boy commented on my Hinge profile. He told me he was going to buy me a 10-piece chicken nugget meal.
Not a 10-piece.
First of all, Chick-fil-A don't even sell 10 pieces of chicken nuggets.
You're talking about McDonald's.
McDonald's, Simone. McDonald's.
He said, that's real love. He said, I'm the type to still buy you. I'm the type to ask you if you're hungry. And if you say no, I'm going to still buy you a 10-piece chicken nugget meal from Chick-fil-A. They ain't even got 10 pieces. So why are you automatically lying out the gate?
He don't know what he's talking about.
Simone, back up one more time. Child,
I was like, is this what I'm dealing with here?
Simone, young, but these nuggets
is this what I'm dealing with here?
Thank you. Where we go? Thank you.
Are
church
these
voice.
My options.
Church voice. So did you accept the nuggets?
Hell no. He was 5'9".
Simone.
Okay.
You about 5'10".
Going back to the
plus
question. 2. I feel like I agree with Simone though.
Plus 3. Sorry, Jordan.
I agree with Simone though, because it's really your reasoning behind it. If you just really don't find people attractive, that's fine. But if you're just like, I don't like ugly black B words because the da 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 da, like that's a whole other separate situation. Like, I'm not saying that about like white people, but I just don't find them attractive, and that's fine. That's very much okay. But if you're sitting up here degrading people that you're not attracted to, obviously you have stronger feelings than just preference. You know, that's a little hatred, or maybe a sprinkle of racism.
Because none of us are saying, yeah. None of us are saying it could never happen. We're just saying that we don't foresee that just because of like what we are attracted to. And I think that's very fair. So like, why would you go on Hinge and allow all these options? Well, you know, you're not going to swipe on none of them. That's what I'm saying. Like, not directly towards you, but I'm saying like, that's why anybody's reason for doing that would be valid. And if that's why, like, I know I'm not attracted to that.
So on your Hinge profile, do you have preference for black? You do?
I do, but that's not the only thing that pops up. So it really don't matter.
I would say like, I think one of my next question is like, do you feel like, have you ever felt like approached or pursued by different races? Like, has it been more or less in your own race? I will say on Hinge, I know Hinge sometimes takes a long time for the algorithm. I tell myself that for the pep talk. But I've had a lot of white men like my profile a lot, which is very interesting to me because I'm never approached by white men. Like, I feel people who approach me in person are always black men. Like, whether it's craziness in CVS or whatever grocery store that come up to me and scare the life out of me, I'm gonna have my AirPods in. It's always black men. I've never been in person approached by a white man, but a lot of my Hinge likes are white men. And I find it to be interesting because I've never been approached in my life.
So I do have a certain type that if I were approached by them, I might be like, okay, you know, I don't know how to respond to this. Like, I might get you for dinner.
What's your type?
Okay, but I would do like a tall, dark
like
hair.
That white kappa.
They have to be dark hair.
The white kappa. That'd be.
Sam's not doing it for me. A little bit of you know, a little bit. What do they like to say? A little bit of flavor. Okay,
a spicy,
but I will say a spicy. I do on Hinge get a lot of likes. I wouldn't say more than black guys, but I do, and it's kind of interesting. But in person, I've had a few weird encounters. But I've talked to like some of my guy friends who have told me like, you think you're not being approached by them, but they approach differently than what you're used to. Like one of my friends' boyfriends was telling me like, my white guy friends love black girls, but like the way that I would approach a girl is not the same way they would. And so he was like, you might not be noticing that they are, because it's like a little more passive. It's not like,
hey ma,
what
hey
they
ma,
be saying
come here,
grabbing your arm, grabbing your waist. So they, whatever. It's a little different. And so that was like very interesting to me. It kind of made me a little bit more aware, because I was like, like maybe they are, and I just don't really realize it. So, yeah, I guess I could say I have.
I feel like I don't really get approached by different races. I will say Asian boys and like Pakistani, they have like approached me. The some of them cute. I'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, some of them be fine. I was in the train one time and I saw this fine ass, like, he looked like maybe he was like Chinese or I don't know, like South Korean or something. Anyway, or just Korean. I don't know why I said South Korean, but he was fine. He was like 6'5", 6'6". He had on a like schooly hat.
Gully?
And like a nice watch and a graphic tee. I was like, okay,
she was correcting you.
Yeah, she kind
of cute.
We all don't know how to talk. What a whole podcast. I'm weak.
No.
Yeah. So I think though, I think it's definitely interesting, like thinking about who approaches you, especially like as we're dating, and like I think we all eventually want like partners, right? Like we say what we want, but I guess sometimes people always say that, and then it may come and you may find someone who's not who you anticipated. But I think back to the Matt James situation. I'm sorry, Matt. Also, Matt, you work at CBRE, that real estate firm. I don't know people who work there. How you get that G-Wagon? What job you got? Because people I know, they don't got no G-Wagon to work there. And I just want to know what type of real estate
I don't think that's...
I don't think...
That wasn't his
That's
car.
not his car.
He also took the girl on the shopping spree and bought her Louboutins.
I'm saying, what salary? Like, that's a lot
That's
of
for
money.
the show.
The Bachelor. That's the Bachelor funding.
I'm not gonna be messy, but like in corporate America, you're just like, okay, like you 31, like okay, like you trying to guesstimate people's salaries. I'm like, you kind of like that, kind of like that. Okay, but moving on.
It's called the Bachelor's budget.
Back to Matt James. Like, would you ever drop someone you were dating for being ignorant or like, you know, not knowing about race? And I think it's important to preface like not in the present, right? Like not like it was like a tweet that happened 2 weeks ago, but like maybe it was when they were in high school, right? I feel a lot of times that happens a lot where people get in trouble. It's from stuff that was 5 years ago. I remember our student body president from UNC said the N-word, white girl, up and down her tweet, right? And she like I mean, her whole staff was minorities, and she was like the white face of it, right? But her whole like exec staff was minorities, and she, I don't know, someone should have stopped her, but she tweeted and was like, "That was such a long time ago. Like that was 5 years ago. I was in high school. The math was wrong. It was 3 years ago, right? It's like I've grown so much from it." And people, it's kind of like understanding like, are people allowed to learn, right? And are people allowed to, you know, move forward? And so, like, if you're dating someone and they have something crazy, I mean, it could be a black person, right? Black men, something crazy that was offensive, maybe about colorism, or maybe something about like, you know, talking about people and like gay rights that was not cool at all, right? Homophobia that you need to call out, and you find a tweet and it's maybe 5 years ago. Are you still gonna, you know, drop them and say, you know what, I don't mess with that? Like, even though it was 5 years ago, I can't believe that you've grown from that.
So I just want to preface this by saying, if you see all these people getting their tweets searched, you know, what in your mind when you think like, let me go search some words on my tweets too? Because I've done it, and
that's
I'm like,
what I
think
all the time.
Let me delete, and it might not even been that bad, but it's just like if you've grown so much, and then you see how other people are being taken down by certain situations like this. Would it not be like, oh, I know my past, you know, like I know what the things I've done. If you really are like growing and like actively trying to learn every day, like maybe I should just, you know, delete that. But also I think that people can grow, you know, sometimes people definitely say some very wild things. And then the way they go about their apology is just like, well, that was 5 years ago. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. You still said it. It's still a screenshot. Like, we still see you say this. Like, so what are you going to do about it? You know, people just kind of just passively like, oh, well, you should know that I've changed. We don't know you. All we see is this. So now what?
Yeah, and I think that's more even to like dating, because like it is more intimate, right? Like we're like trying, especially in this age, like, you know, trying to build like a relationship. Usually it's like, I put in this time, like I've got to know you and I think you're cool, but then like this come up, like what do you do? Like, especially when we're in our 20s and we're more like, if you were 35 and that was 5 years ago, listen. But like, you know, if you were like young, is more grace given to that. So thinking about that girl, I mean, she was in college, right? Like, let's be real, we know ignorant white girls from high school who just had no idea about race and like what was not, had bad connotations for Black people. And maybe they're better now. And I think it's kind of like the Matt situation, right? Like she did some crazy stuff. If it, maybe not in him, but for us, like, would you be able to say, you know what, that wasn't college. Like, I understand you're better now.
Part of me feels like, you know, people are allowed room to grow. But some things I think do have negative intentions. And so, like, if I were to see someone who grew up around a ton of minorities and most of them being Black, and maybe they were like, you know, their friends let them say the N-word towards them, you know, I don't know if I would judge that the same as someone saying, no, like, I wouldn't judge that the same as someone saying something really vicious with the N-word in it. Because to me, one is like, you know, ignorance, but one is ignorance with, you know, viciousness, like hate. And there's a difference to me. Like, I would still have a problem, but I think I would forgive one quicker than the other, because one is just done to be vindictive, to be mean, nasty, and purely just hateful. And that is what I can't get with. And so even though you might grow as a person, does that really erase that hateful spirit
Yeah.
out of you? I don't know. Because there's just certain things that you knew you weren't supposed to say it. You knew it and you still said it. That's why it's an issue for me. And with this situation, it's real aggy. Okay, like, girl, why you go to a plantation theme, an antebellum party, and like, why you liking pictures with Confederate flags? But
and they want a black man,
you know, and they want a black man. I think that's where it's an issue. Like, you know, if you want to stay with your own life or whatever, that's fine. But you're bringing, I don't know. It just gets tricky because it just gets tricky. I don't know.
Also,
I don't know. But I think, sorry, Jordan. I was just going to say, like, really quickly, I think with me and who I've dropped before, the things that they have said have just been so hate, like, even though they didn't mean it towards me directly, it was so hateful that I was like, I can't. Or they're so ignorant, there's no coming back. I don't know.
I will say I don't date outside my race, so I don't have to go through these situations. So,
girl, that is a good point.
I think into Jordan's question, like, I guess Jordan like already answered it, but like, would you be willing to teach people, like, if you're dating someone, about like what's going on, right? And about like why I'm doing X, Y, and Z, why I'm crying, you know, or like how I feel, or like why they treated you better when you went up to the restaurant counter to order your food than me. Like, would you endure that if it was true love?
There's only I would teach certain things in the sense of, yes, I need to wear this bonnet all day. Am I going to want to teach you about the things that strike such a chord within me and like have to explain every time I'm maybe being irrational to you, but it's really not irrational, right? Like, I have to explain myself and my feelings and I don't see myself doing that. That sounds very draining and exhausting to me. I think that if I were to date someone, they would have to come in with a substantial amount of knowledge and understanding. I truly do. And that's kind of what I look for in friends too, like of other races. Like, I need you to be able to hear me, not cut me off and not deny what I'm saying or feeling. Like, hear me. Yeah. There's only a certain amount of teaching I would do. Let's just say.
And
that.
I feel like I want my relationship to be like a safe space. You know, I'm not trying to teach you things. I'm just trying to like be at peace. Like, I have to deal with so much in the world and try to like fight for my way. Being a Black woman, you know, in any space is already such a struggle in itself. When I come home, like, I just need you to understand me. I just need you to feel me. I need you to get me. Like, I don't want our arguments to be over race and like why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling and how you should know this because I was taught it in school, but you weren't because my history wasn't a priority to people that look like you, you know, like I just don't want that for myself. And, you know, people are very patient and are willing to do that. And kudos to them because this girl right here is not doing it.
And I think that even goes to kind of our final question, but maybe be our final question, who never knows. But talking about like, how would your family feel if you brought a person that was maybe white or just non-Black home?
I know we've been real fixated on that. We mean all races.
Yeah, like. Yeah. I think, you know, just being honest from us, like, you know, growing up in the South, right? And like, I honestly could not see, first of all, I don't know anyone in my family, honestly, on my dad's side. My cousins are biracial, right? In Baltimore, but like, that has a non-Black spouse or partner. And I think if I brought him back to Alabama, it would be a thing. Like, just my parents probably wouldn't care, but my grandparents and my great aunts and uncles would probably have some questions and probably say some things that were probably not correct or not appropriate. And I think that's something just like in adulting, you know, like, we do have our own opinions and we can be progressive, but we also carry our families with us. And I think we are close to our parents, the fact that we're like, you know, we're not that far out there, you know, supervision or care as like maybe someone who's like 40. So it's still more kind of like their opinions and like that disapproval may hold more sway.
I feel like my parents, I feel like they technically would not care, but they also be very, very surprised from me. You know, it's just nothing I ever gave off. Like, but you know what? My mom was trying to get me to date Jack. So I don't think it's that far.
No, I was just going to say, first of all, it's funny that you mentioned Jack because, like, I think, like, with Jack is one of our close friends from high school. I know you guys do not know Jack. If you listen,
Love
shout
Jack.
out.
Yes.
But
white male.
I think that's something that really resonated with me about Jack was I would have very in-depth conversations with him about the things that I felt like I was facing as a Black woman. And I always felt like he was listening. Yeah. He was just a listening ear. Like, his response was never, that's crazy. Why would you say that? He was always like, wow, I didn't know that. Like, and that is different to me than being gaslighted or like things of that sort and feeling like I have to educate you. I never felt that way with him. And a lot of things he did know already because he's just very informed. But like, you know, we would just have serious conversations about things I was going through, you know, specific to my race. And like, he just always was very open to hear that other side and to let that, like, you know, sit with him and him handle things accordingly. So that's the type, if I were to date someone, it would probably be someone like that. But talk about family. My mom says that she doesn't care. And my dad, no, he wouldn't like that very much, I don't think.
Yeah,
so
I think it's same
with him. Like, I would definitely tell my mom first.
But what if your brothers
family, I don't think they care.
But what if your brothers brought home a girl that wasn't Black? Like, would you be like side-eyeing?
Yes.
If she was white.
But I don't.
She was white. Maybe minority.
Oh, if she was.
Ooh, Simone.
I don't think I would per se. I would just really need to know their intentions. However, I don't see that happening. But my brothers both have very clear types. And I don't see that happening at all. But they wouldn't care if I did. And like I said, my extended family wouldn't either. Like, they're very chill.
Jordan, what if your brother brought home a white girl?
I would be side-eyeing, yes, only because I just feel like
we love the honesty.
Standard for Black, so okay, some Black men dating some Black women, I mean white women, it's just like, oh, I want something different, or like, you know, I couldn't date Black men, so I want to be like, you know, going against my parents and all this stuff. I don't need my brother to be no experiment for nobody. And then they bring him to their house and there's guns pointed at him or something crazy, you know, like I'm not the one nor the two. I don't play about that. But like, if she was like genuine, I would not care, but I would have to get to know her first. Like, it's not going to be some, oh, welcome arms. It's going to be so, sit down.
She would have to grow on you.
Yeah, it's just sit down. We need to talk.
I have to know her intentions. Even my mom.
Yeah, she would have to grow on you.
My mom, I remember.
I think that's across the board, though.
From a long time ago, I was like, how would you feel if like my brother like brought home a white girl? My brother, like, I don't know, he goes to Harvard, right? So like, you know, a lot of white people.
It wouldn't be too far off,
right? And so
like, would you be?
So that's what I'm saying. So right, because who my brother is, right? Like originally, actually now at Harvard, like he's very much like he's in all the Black student movements. I really think, okay, now, like, you know, that's not the case. But I remember asking my mom, like, yo, like, how would you feel? And she was like very hesitant because she's like, I don't know, like, even me, I think, just to be very honest, like having a white person in my family, again, some people are very knowledgeable and really, you know, ready to be an ally, but for them, it all seems taxing. Like, it seems taxing to always have to learn and always have to be there. And yeah, I want my brother to have Black love because I think that's like, I want to, you know, mimic my family. I want to mimic like what we have and kind of, you know, have that. But that was like something like, I think, you know, just about like growing up in the South. My grandparents are from Alabama. You know, KKK. You know, my grandpa, you know, used to be chased down. You know, some people be lynched. Like, I don't know if their trauma, just to be really real, and like what they've been through could allow them
to be okay
to see me in that light, right? Because I'm not even gonna be real. Even people who are not African American came to my family. We have people who are, you know, are Black but not African American. You know, like descended from slaves. That's been hard for them to grasp too, like, and grasp their culture and grasp that, like, yes, they're Black, but they're not like Southern Black, or they're not descended from slaves, and that was already like a educational hurdle that like I had to keep on correcting them on when they would say stuff that was out of pocket to inform them like not all Caribbean islands are the same. Not all Caribbean islands are the same.
Yeah.
You can't call everyone, you know, the same Caribbean island. And I think, yeah, and I do think, I don't know about the Black part, but I do think a lot of times just like growing up in the South and having family from the South who still lives there, it would be really hard for them to really, you know, accept that, I think. And I think it's definitely different for Black women. I think Black women probably get more of the brunt of it than Black male, but still.
Oh, we definitely do. And I don't even think it's just the South. I think in general, these feelings come from a very like deep rooted place, right? Like, and so even my mom's much younger. Well, I don't know about if she's much younger, but she's younger than your grandparents. So like my mom has told me stories about, you know, the KKK burning down crosses in her neighborhood, or them driving like with their them going to football games and the bus getting shot up, or like the Black guys leaving the football game, going to the white neighborhood, getting beat up, but like stuff like that. Because my mom was born in the 60s, like, you know, it's not too far off. And so, you know, I think it's important for us to just recognize that sometimes these feelings can come from just all of the trauma in the life that we've lived as Black people. And your grandparents are not wild to, you know, feel this way, you know. I think as we get older and we come into this newer generation, we are more progressive for sure, but that doesn't mean that we forget about everything that we've gone through.
Because you carry your family with you. And I think that's something, especially like when you're in your 20s, is like you get a lot of feedback. Everyone want to give you advice in your 20s all the time. And I do feel like that's definitely more different to being in your 20s. Is like people are looking and people are like trying to see like, what are you about to do with your life? Like, how are you about to, you know, direct this per se?
Can we ask a quick question?
Oh, go on, Jordan, sorry.
We can. Okay, my question was like, do you think there's a difference? Do you think there's a difference in the way that like non-Black men with Black women couples are being treated versus non-Black women with Black men? And why is the answer yes?
Why is the answer yes? That's really true.
Yeah. But that's a whole nother episode, girl. That is a whole episode for sure.
But I would say, as for me, I know we're running over, but I would say I'm definitely side-eye Black men much harder than I side-eye any of my friends that date white men. Like I know society is different, but if I were to see a Black man with a white woman, I'd be like, I remember even dated this guy that he was like, you're the first Black girl that like I've like, you know, dated. And like that really like turned me off from him. Cause I was like, that's like ew. Like ew. And then also it was like that's the fact that I am and like I can just picture you definitely made me uneasy. But if I saw, let's say, a Black woman dating a white man, I'd probably be like, go you, girl. Good for you.
Well, that's why I said it's another episode. There's just a lot to unpack. But I think the reason why is because, you know, people were talking about like Serena Williams, for example, perfect example. For years, she was called a man, you know, like just all types of just very negative things, right? By Black women.
Black men. Yeah.
I'm sorry, by Black men. And she found someone who loved her. He happened to be a white man. And like people were so supportive of that. And like the Black men were like in outrage. And it's like, you know, as Black women, we're put down by society. We're put down by our families. We're put down by our own men. And it's like, you know, when we seek refuge outside of that, it's an issue. But like with Black men, the reason why they do date outside a lot of times is because they have this obsession with, you know, lighter children or, you know, elevation. And so I think it's really intentions, and that's why it's treated differently. It's the intention behind it. Most of the time, it's not because I just love her. It's because it's like, how can I use this to my advantage? Whereas Black women, I think, do it out of love. Like they love these men.
And then
you know?
I feel like Black women with like non-Black men be minding their own business. You know, they post their pictures and everybody has something to say about them. But And my experience,
Yeah.
whenever I see a black man with a non-black woman, it's always just like a black B word would never do this and da 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 da. And I'm just like, I was sitting here minding my own business, and how I get pulled into this. Like, I feel like they do it to spite black women, and I was eating my cereal. I was minding my business. I'm not concerned with what you're doing. And now here I'm getting upset because I'm just like, what did I have to do with this? Like, it was just a show off, like, oh, well, yeah, I got a white girl and da da da, and she does all this. She lets me do this, this, and this, and just basically like dogging her. Like she lets you do all these different things and you don't do nothing for her. Like, why do you feel proud of this? Like, that's not okay. Like, do you feel like a man like doing that? Like,
Yeah.
So that's why I think so. But
and it definitely relates to high school. If you think about a lot of the white girls that dated black guys in high school who were mostly all athletes. Let's be real, right? They really only dated the black male athletes, right? Because they were the popular ones. How many of them are actually dating black men now that we're out of high school? And those people are not star athletes anymore, right? And that is, I think, the issue that we come to is like, it's only when they're in certain statuses, right? And I think that is what's weird and unsettling, and why we may like be side-eyeing people sometimes who do come in to that. But
yeah, I think that's important. But like I said, that could be a whole nother discussion on its own. I think, just to summarize, like, everyone has their preferences, and I think it's okay to have your preferences. And as Black women, because that's the only perspective we can really speak from, we would like Black love, and I think that's okay to say. There's nothing wrong with that. And so, yeah, I guess to really talk about the main topic, we can't really relate to that because we probably wouldn't find ourselves in that situation, to be quite honest. But yeah, I think that's really about it. Like, it is what it is. You like who you like, And so that wraps up our discussion for today. Next, we will do a quick listener question. So stay tuned.
If you made it this far, obviously you love this podcast. Do your favorite girls a favor and rate our show 5 stars and write a review. We're so appreciative of everyone and can't wait to bring you guys more content. Now let's get back to the show.
Now we'll be moving on to our listener question, where we'll read your troubles, I would say, thoughts, tribulations about being a kind adult. This isn't really any of those, but just had to give you a little bit of a brief summary. So send your anonymous listener letters in at tinyurl.com/KA letters. For this week, we have a question. And the question is, if you were offered today to get the COVID vaccine, would you get it?
Yep. I'm ready to go back to the streets.
Hell yeah.
Yep. And I actually never realized, like, I have a go on, Simone, sorry. I was like, I can't get a shot through work, and like that is kind of weird, like that I am able to get it vaccinated. I actually know a lot of 20-year-olds who are in med school, but have you who have got vaccinated, right? Or people who are virtual medical workers who have got vaccinated, have even seen patients, and it is like, it's like because like self-preservation, and also it's like kind of uneasy because it's kind of like, wow, like you really are able to like play the American system. Like it really does show like people who are more connected or have the right jobs or right, areas are able to get shots. And that's like a weird thing to be in, right? So I obviously want the vaccine. I want to be out on the streets. I'm tired of being in this house. But it just re-emphasized the fact, like, this is messed up. Like, this is so messed up, this system of like, because people are fighting to get vaccinated. Like, it's disgusting. And it's weird because, like, how do you
it's almost identical to the movie Contagion, in terms of people getting their significant others, their family vaccinated first versus the people who really need them. So it's kind of interesting how movies can tell how the future is going to go. But yeah, I would definitely get it. I got a text today from a friend talking about, if you want to get it, I can get you the shot in Brooklyn. I got the hookup. And I was like, ooh, I'm Marietta, Georgia. What else to do about that? But like, I would totally get it. I would totally get it. My mom's getting her second dose tomorrow. All of my aunts have been vaccinated because I have a family member who has a hookup for them. And
But do you feel, is
I
that
have
bad?
really at this point no qualms about it.
Is
What's
that
what bad?
unethical though? Like, do you think isn't because I felt kind of a little bit of guilt, right? Like, I know that I'm able to get a vaccine. Well, if I can't get an appointment anyway, so let's be real, because it's already booked up. But like, is that like, is it bad that 20-year-olds are per se like getting vaccines before maybe someone who's like 65 or maybe is in more of like an industry that they can be more exposed, like a service worker? Like, is that wrong?
I mean,
Like, if you went
I
to Brooklyn and
think,
got a
well,
hookup, would that be wrong?
well, first of all, 20-year-olds are not immune from the dying from the virus. I mean, we've seen babies die, we've seen children die. So even though originally it was this big push for 60 plus is the most at risk, which even though technically they are, we're still very high risk for the virus. So I wouldn't even use age as that, like, as a determinant there. But to answer your question, no, I don't really feel any guilt. Uh, if the opportunity fell on my plate, I would be foolish not to take it. I mean, that might sound really like selfish, but like I would like to live as well. So if someone were to come to me and say, I can get you the vaccine tomorrow, I would get the vaccine tomorrow. Like, I don't know when that's going to come back around. So that probably sounds very, selfish and maybe childish. I don't know, but that's just how I felt about it when I saw that text message. I was like, oh, absolutely, I'll go get the
but
virus.
I don't think it's bad because
Vaccine.
they opened it up for people like 16 up, right? Like,
Well, yeah. So like, how in DC, right?
Yeah.
Well, like,
but
how
like
in
they
DC,
have
how it
like
works,
the
phases.
yeah. So all
So like,
the
I'm
old
in
people
phase.
should have been gone. Like,
So yeah, so like I'm in phases, right? And so like, well, it's still let's look at the priority, right? So like I've like I'm able to register for vaccine. So like I'm in the phase of like continuity of government, right? I'm in 1B, so I'm able to get the vaccine, right? And it's weird because my team, a lot of us are young and healthy, and I think I do disagree with someone. I do feel like I still know a lot of people who are 65 who have not got the vaccine. I mean, I don't know them, but I'm positive, right? Or even DC, what they did, they went to the areas that have like the lowest socioeconomic statuses, which of course align with the highest rate of vaccines of people who are have coronavirus and are going there as being prioritized first. So I do think I do think it is like it's not anyone's fault, but it's a mess up of the American system that people are like
Yes.
that
Yeah.
we possibly could get vaccinated, right? And then be someone who is literally working at McDonald's, right, and who is seeing way more people than we see on a daily basis is not able to get vaccinated. And I think, and their job may not be critical, but like they still
Yeah.
have to make a living and be out in there, right? And I think that difference, yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say to you. I think you're taking on guilt or blame that doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the government, honestly. And so
It's like
that's
guilt of
why,
privilege. Like, it's like
I
guilt of
kind of,
privilege.
it is a guilt of privilege, but at the same time, it all falls on the government. Because if you were offered the shot tomorrow and you didn't take it, what difference does that make? It doesn't go to another 65-year-old because it took my mom a month just to get registered and in the system. We checked day after day as soon as the vaccine was released to get her signed up, and we could not find an appointment anywhere. The morning it was supposed to get like released on certain websites, the
Yeah,
websites
I
were
went
down.
DC today. It crashed.
So you missing out on that opportunity is not going to give someone else the vaccine. I truly don't believe so because it's planned a certain way. Like this is all a part of their plan. Like I just firmly believe that because there's no reason at this point we should be struggling the way we are with vaccine distribution. It's not hard. It's purposeful. It truly is. So I don't know. For me to pass up on that would be crazy to me because it could be July before I have another opportunity like that, So that's just where I come from with that. I just don't think that's my fault. I think that that's the government, the local government's distribution plan. All of that is their, crap show that they're running.
It is weird that I'm going to be like 24 and I'm authorized to get a vaccine before my parents who are 50 plus, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe we'll have more, it's a weird feeling. And I know we can talk about like not feeling guilt, but I do feel guilt. And funny because my white coworkers, were like, I'm gonna get it. Like we were registering, we feel like able to put what phase you qualify for. It was all self-selection, which is messed up. You self-selected into the category that you belonged in. And they were like, I asked my coworker, I was like, what phase are you doing? He's like, I'm doing the highest one. And I was like, like, you not I read the description of the highest one. That's not you. But he didn't feel that shame per se or that guilt that I felt. That's why I asked him what he put. I was like trying to gauge like, what should I do? And that's interesting. So yeah. But that's my piece on it.
I think it's different for you though, because like people are getting it because like they're at risk, but like your job is trying to get you to get it. So they're just going to push you to go into work. That's the only like hold up I would have. Like, you trying to get me this vaccinated so I can just go in earlier than everybody else. No, ma'am, I'm gonna be at home. I'm gonna be at home in my bed. Like, do not try to push me to go nowhere.
I mean, it's not to say that any of this is right. Like, yeah, ethically, someone who's older and more at risk should be getting the vaccine first. But like you're talking about your coworker, I think there's a certain population out there who's very much about survival of the fittest, and we're just going to get ourselves through this no matter what. And I think we kind of have to channel some of that as well, because the system right now is not meant for us to last anyway. So like I think we have to take a little bit of how they act and channel that to how we act.
I know we're
well.
really over. But like one thing was like my dad, like a long time ago, like I was like summer, he's on a hospital board. They said that he could take three family members to get vaccinated, right? And I was like, that's wrong. Like I told him, I was like, you should not be able to get vaccinated because you are not a medical worker. You are not this or that. Like that's wrong. And he was like, but I'm protecting my family. And it was that, I think mostly in our generation, we talk about equality a lot. We talk about, justice. I think it weighed definitely more heavy on my heart, per se. But that's my piece. That's it. I'm done with my soapbox.
Yeah, I think in general, we just have to fight the system because that's the only way that these people are going to be able to get their quality anyway. Like we can't, I don't know. I'm probably getting a little too problematic. So let me be quiet. But yes, I would have took the vaccine if I was in Brooklyn. I may have felt bad after, but I don't feel bad about potentially considering it right now. So, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. We don't be dating like that. So it's kind of hard for us to talk from our perspective, like, on a serious note. But, there's nothing wrong with your preferences. Be open to who you want to be open to. And don't let anyone make you feel bad about that. And that is it.
Bye. Bye. Bye.